Hey everybody, this is Matt Finch in the Matt Finch RPG studio, and today the guest of honor is Courtney Campbell. Say hello to everybody, Courtney.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're totally welcome. I like it when people have products other than Kickstarters for us to focus on because it's been a really, really Kickstarter intensive
It
month or
is.
so.
It has. People have told me to do a Kickstarter, but the thing is I don't want to step in that boat without having something finished, like having it ready to go. I don't want to be the future person being pilloried.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you've got to in some way express to Kickstarter that your product isn't finished because it's supposed to be used for a an incomplete product that they're helping you fund. So it um, always leads to the. I think that's why people have sort of tended toward the standard of it's written, but it's not edited, or it's written and edited, but we haven't got the art yet. That kind of thing. Really, just to get away with the Kickstarter requirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's been a productive writing day for me, which has left me kind of zoned. That's what happens with me when I have a
Sure. Yeah, when you get into the zone, trying to come back to, so I can help. I can help if
you can help with that. Okay, what are you going to do?
I recently, Adventure Conquer King has published me for the first time. I was a published illustrator before, and now I guess I'm officially a published author. I'm here to talk about Eyrie of the Dread Eye, my homage to the Forbidden City.
All right, now the Forbidden City, and I've forgotten its number, but that's the one with the bugbears, and it had the sort of sideways isometric is the wrong word for it, but isometric map, is that the one word?
No.
Which one am I thinking of?
I don't know. It's just Forbidden City was the idea that there was it's a giant cavern and the city within the cavern, and there were so many different approaches the players could take to get in, and it was filled with yawn tea, and it was a mid to high level adventure. So one of the things we set out to do, especially considering it's for Adventure Conquer King, which is one of the most grounded and solid clones of Basic Expert that we have, was to figure out what it means to produce a mid to high level adventure for that. And
it sucks. I can tell you that right now. It sucks like anything.
Well, I think I did a good job, right? Like I have all my ideas. I've been put them on my blog. So here we go. We've got this adventure that taxes the player characters in ways that high level characters should be able to address without any sort of, it's not linear, and it's not got the anti-magic dead zones. It doesn't nullify player abilities. It creates situations in which the players are supposed to creatively address, like, how to solve these problems without, there are obviously things in there that provide solutions for the problems, but giving them space for their own creativity. And they're 2 pages of magic items they've accumulated by the time they're level 8.
Yeah, that's what the issue is that they've got so many different ways in which, especially for a module. I mean, if you're writing a high level adventure for characters that you can sort of shape it around the things that they have. But when you're writing a module for high level, they've got such a vast possible set of tools in the toolbox that it becomes really, really difficult not to leave, some sort of vast hole in the adventure. The classic, of course, being, oops, I forgot you could fly, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I took into account the types of things that those mid to high level players would have, including, decanters of endless water, access to fly spells. But the challenges that it presents them with aren't easily solved by those things. Like some of it is, how do you get the treasure out of the place, and the entrances are very narrow, and so it creates kind of a thing there, and the environments are very dangerous, and they generally have a lot of a huge retinue by the time you're 8th level. It's
that's true.
Not unusual to have a party of 100 characters, all henchmen and hirelings and everything else. So there's threats and dangers there, and I really struggled to do it without the off switch, because the way traditionally you'll find a lot of high level adventures that are terrible is they'll set it up so that, oh, this is an anti-magic zone, you can't can't do anything in here, or whatever. And
Right.
although we have a touch of that because it ties heavily into autark lore, you know, if you're interested in Adventure of Conqueror King, it explores a lot of the things that were laid in the core book and some of the setting stuff. A lot of the New Adventures Art's exciting stuff. But for the most part, we want players to use their abilities and powers, and take that in mind. And still, the adventure should be challenging. That's how we present it. Yeah,
And that's
you,
a really
if
hard thing to do.
if you're interested in whether or not I've succeeded, you could find out for like less than $5.
There you go. Which is, you know, a very reasonable price these days for PDFs. PDF prices seem to have been not shooting upward, but, you know, on a very steady climb since about 2006, when most of the sort of PDFs were coming out at like $2.50 for something that was an adventure length thing. But yours also has a discount in it.
Yeah, if you buy the PDF, it's taken off the price of the print on demand. So like you're not punished for being an early adopter. The print on demand should be out this next week, like very soon. We're just waiting on the approval process for drive-through.
Now, Wonky Art is asking where to support this, and the answer should be in the description. It's got two links. One of them is to the drive-through RPG location of Courtney's module, and then since I'm also in the middle of a Kickstarter, I figured I would tag that on there too. So if you threw that up, there's the hog. Okay, there have been so many Kickstarters going on that I have not actually done any promotion on my own. I've done, you know, videos with all kinds of people who are doing Kickstarters, and I'm leaving myself in the dust here.
Well, I mean, like a lot of people have approached me about their Kickstarters, and it's hard to find time to manage all my own work and also shine a light on people that are doing great stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do like one thing I like about Kickstarters and new products is that generally you're catching people when they're very focused on something. And, you know, sometimes that's sales, which can lead to a difficult interview. But most of the time they've when you release something, you sort of focus your attention on what is it that I've made, which is why I wanted to talk about, you know, the nature of Eyrie of the Dread Eye, because it addresses the question of how do you construct, you know, a high level adventure? What was the thinking that went into the adventure design, which is outside of the player abilities a lot of the time? And, you know, get it, just the things that are involved in the sort of high level adventure, which let's drop into maybe the first thing is the backstory, because there's a relatively complex backstory. It's one that's got roughly 3 phases to it. And how important is the backstory to the adventure itself, or is it just setting?
Oh, no. I think that we spent a lot of time. You know, like I'm kind of a gonzo guy. I don't know if you've read my blog. I tend to, like, my default campaign setting is usually Mystara, and they have, you know, flying gnome cities, and it's just very, very high fantasy, right?
Right.
And so I believe Alex showed me a chart when I turned in my manuscript. He was like, here's where Axe is. And then this is the Gonzo scale, and here's where your adventure is. And we need to bring it. We need to meet somewhere. And I was like, yeah, he picture and everything was very funny. So we spent a lot of time actually with the integration. The important thing I feel is that there's reason for the players to go there, but it is a setting and a site-based adventure. You know, I'm not interested in creating, like, forcing players to do anything.
Right.
But there are a lot of both RN campaign reasons and personal character motivations to go there, right? Like the wealth is the very frankly, the treasure and the magic items are things that mid to high level characters are going to be interested in. So that's like the appeal for the character. You know, they can get their hands on some, you know, cool stuff, but then there's a lot of risk and danger involved, not only to them, but their company and the world, really.
So one thing that comes across, at least in the introduction to it, is the race against time that's involved. And I think that races against time are something that's very key in any adventure, because of course with the imaginary characters, there is no real effect of time unless it's built in. Like, your mega dungeon has wandering monster checks. So even at the simplest level, there's something that's marking out time. And at first level, you got to get some gold, or you're not going to sleep in a tavern. You're going to be out in the field.
Absolutely. Well, Gygax was pretty straightforward about it, right? Like he, no matter what you think about the man, he designed the game, and he said in bold letters that time is like a key focus to long-term campaigns, right?
Yeah, well, and even to short-term
meaningful campaign is what he said. Yeah.
Now, so that brings us to the opening of the Oculus.
Yeah.
How much can you talk about that without giving any major spoilers to Wonky Art, who's on his way over to buy it and read it?
Oh yeah. Well, no, it's not about major spoilers. It's really about the RN campaign setting. Adventure Conquer King isn't just one of the best basic expert clones. It's also got a fantastic setting, right? Like Mesopotamian, like Bronze Age, ancient magics, and there were a lot of hints laid in the setting book and the core rule book about things that might be happening in the future, and a lot of the adventures and modules. What do you need, baby? What's going on? Hi, say hi to everybody. That's my daughter. What do you need?
I'm just asking, when are we going to hang the posters?
We're going to hang the posters right after this, baby.
Okay.
Okay, I love you. Give me a hug. Give me a hug.
How much more minutes, Daddy?
All right, go play. I'll be there in a minute.
How much more minutes?
Do what?
How much more minutes until we hang that?
How much more minutes? Probably about 10. I got to get back to the show. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, that's my little girl.
So we're speaking about a race against time. We're now working toward you hanging the posters.
Okay, yes, that's true. We went to the book fair today, and she got a JoJo poster. We're very excited about JoJo Siwa. The race against time. There were a lot of hints about the changes coming to the Yarn Empire that were planted in the original core rule books, and I think a lot of the modules that are being produced are each one that Alex is putting out there is moving forward another facet in the coming era, the coming changes, the apocalypse that's happening. And so the Eyrie is a key component of that. We talked about integrating it in, and he and I worked very closely on the manuscript with the setting and the objects and the items to tie into the other R and adventure stuff. And it creates a great, really cohesive setting with a feel of, all these different ancient, armies and capitals and cities, and the players have an opportunity to be disruptive in that, and to address some of the chaos that's coming.
That kind of sounds again a bit like Mystara, that the campaign was much closer to the adventures in it than say Greyhawk, where you simply had, here's the giant series, here's Hamlet, the things were in there, but they weren't built toward anything. Is that sort of the way that
well, it is a basic expert clone, like I think part of the thing, Autark is not like a major Bigfoot publisher, right? Everybody who's involved in these projects is really passionate about it, right? like to an amazing degree, and so that really comes out in the work. You're not getting something produced for page count or word count. You're getting something produced that's trying to be as good or as pure an adventuring experience as you can get. So I felt very confident with both the project and the work we put in on it, and like how it deals with Axe and Autark and the setting, the Yarn Empire. It's exciting. I think it's very exciting for me.
If I'm going to write a high level adventure, you've just been through the process. Okay, so
mid to high level, we're looking 6 to 8.
Okay,
so not like post 9 where they have 250,000, but like that area where they've got a huge army. They've got lots of henchmen, tons of pages of magic items. Powerful.
Okay, so give me some tips on writing an adventure that way. What were the what were the things that you found to be really helpful? What were the mistakes you made along the way? What's involved in plotting out an adventure that where the players have that degree of resource?
Oh, that's a great question, man. You know, the idea is that if you just treat it as they have to do the fights, then it's not going to be good, right? Because that's what they can do. They can do the fights. You have to have multiple threats. You have to have multiple situations. You have to have, you know, like, yes, there's opponents, but there's also innocents you're trying to save. Right? Yes, you have all this power, but there's also situational things that create additional difficulties that are obstacles, right? Like fly is of great utility, but it doesn't solve all these problems, you know, like at some point you have narrow access points or creatures that have in three-dimensional spaces, you know, cover from people that are flying or different factions, and you have an outcome besides just eliminating them. There's also threats that you can't just kill away. Like the Eyrie takes place in an area known as the Dark Wall, and the Dark Wall is just saturated with wyverns. So like you can kill all the wyverns around, but in, you know, 6 turns, there's just going to be more back. Like there's no eliminating the mosquitoes in Alaska. You just have to figure out a new way to cope with them, right?
Are there mosquitoes in Alaska?
Oh my goodness, they're the size of cats. I spent 5 years there.
Isn't it supposed to be too cold? I mean, the mosquitoes die in Texas.
Oh yeah, but you know, it's all tundra, and so when the water melts, you basically have hundreds of square miles of standing water, which you might note is perfect breeding
Right. Yeah. No. That much. Yeah. You know, we're very, very familiar with.
They're huge. Yeah. No. They travel.
Okay. So
swarms. It's terrible. You can't get rid of them, right? You can run a vacuum. You can kill them, but they're just a problem. It's the same way with the wyverns and lots of those situations. Can you deal with any individual problem? Sure, but you know, when you're outside, you're also dealing with the wyverns during that issue, right? When you're trying to climb the wall or find entrances, it's not a linear dungeon. It's not clear cut. It involves the players to make choices and questions, and they're certainly dangerous and deadly things, and they have the resources for that. Augury, fortune telling, you know, scrying, scouts, whatever.
We've got so Wonky Art has already got the PDF, and you've already got a review that says beautiful maps. I'm from Southeast Alaska, actually. Our muskeg's house, massive swarms. I don't even know what a muskeg is.
Yeah. Well, I was in Bethel for 5 years. We were doing native drug and alcohol rehabilitation. They have a big inhalant problem, and so I mean, like, I was 5 years out in the bush. You just no addressing,
and that's where you came up with the idea for these wyverns. Was from the Alaska
it was part of it. You know, like we were talking about what the threats are at the Dark Wall, and so it was collaborative. For sure, that insight, and then me having that experience, you know, relating it to a challenge for higher level parties. Absolutely.
Now, since you know, you mentioned that Autark is a relatively small publisher. And so most of the people watching probably don't play in that particular campaign. And there's the question that Epic Lotus asked is to what degree can it be picked out for a
easy
campaign?
Right? Like it's of course designed so that, you know, like it has the Aran stuff in it, like the backgrounds or whatever else, the naming conventions, the different human, you know, cultures, but you can lift that just like any old school, you know, module and put it wherever you want. I tried to design it so that all you need is a mountain range and a fort nearby or a city nearby that can supply these rumors. Like the adventure is designed that way. Hey, baby. It's definitely easily movable from area to area. All the monsters are either basic or unique, so that you don't have to worry that you're disrupting, you know, any lore or anything you have going on in your current campaign. There's also a 5th edition version coming out, and we didn't just translate the statistics for 5th edition. Sections of it were rewritten because 5th edition is fundamentally a different game than Adventure Conquer.
It is. It operates at many levels at a sort of different mythological scale. I think it's like where you know, when you're going to encounter manticores, you know, or werebears or something like that. It's not, you know, the relative impression that you get of a creature is differently appropriate on the level scale as you begin to move up it. So,
well, the 5th edition version wasn't just a straight transfer. I literally rewrote sections so that they would be more applicable to 5th edition games. Like Adventure Conquer King is a lot more concerned with like how much rope your characters are carrying, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not an 8th level 5th edition character's concern. Like they're not concerned about rope. So the game was the encounters and the things when the 5th edition version comes out were rewritten specifically for that style of game to make sure that when a 5th edition player picks it up, that they have a good time and then they get what they expect.
Right. I'm still learning more, by the way, from the chat room about muskegs. And they sound like a perfect location for adventurers. We've got muskegs are our version of a swamp, more or less. Just giant patches of moss with nasty, muddy puddles and dead trees. I love it. That's
it for sure. For sure.
Expedition into the muskeg. So I like it. Okay, what more about Eyrie of the Dread Eye? Or do you have to go put up the poster of JoJo now?
No. The city itself is designed similarly to the way that the Forbidden City was designed. Each room or area sort of like there's giant maps. I did the maps myself. There's a cliffside map, there's an interior junction room, and then there's the city itself. And the city is huge, and it allows the player characters to wander through these ruins. And the play is designed to be extemporaneous. Like nothing is set, but there are encounter sequences that are randomly generated along with random ruins, and that sort of creates a dynamic emergent gameplay within the Eyrie itself. And there are different factions. There's no expectation of any section being the right section or the wrong section. There's just different alliances with different fallouts based on what you choose to do. I'm very much opposed to the railroady. This is the right thing to do. This is the wrong thing to do. There are lots of opportunities for players.
Yeah, you and Gabor Lux are probably the two biggest folks representing that idea.
Well, I want them to go in and they get to do whatever they want. There's no right. There's no wrong. There's just a bunch of people and they're fighting, and there's going to be fallout no matter what they decide to do, including noping out of there, right? And I tried to make it fun, right? Like, what are you gonna like? The encounters I tried to make interesting and memorable, and I tried to make sure the treasure was, something that a mid to high level character would be like cool. Like, there's an opportunity for like mythical mounts and rare items. I don't want to spoil anything for people that are going to play, but I want both the DM and the players to be excited about the adventure, and I really think I put something together. And if you don't believe me, there's only one way to find out, right? You just go and you like, I'm sure for $4 or $5 it's nothing. You go and you check it out, and you see if I did good.
Now, and in the course of what you were saying, you actually answered the question that I had asked, which is what are the different pitfalls and so on. Was the and to sort of summarize how that answer went, it was number one, not linear. Number two, factions that can develop their own internal stuff while it's going on. Number three, you can have monsters that have an unlimited supply of them as one of the things to basically block the characters. Having rewards that are unusual enough to pique the interest of the players and the characters. So I want to talk a little bit now about the maps, because you touched on that. Now, in our last discussion, we sort of teased out of you the fact that you're actually a professional artist. You have a show where you do the art. Show off a little bit of the art. I mean, even if it's just pointing your camera a little bit toward the stuff you've got on the wall behind you,
actually,
or something you can hold up. Or
I've started working on Mega Dungeon 4, and like as you change projects, you shift the old stuff away. So I don't have the Eyrie map, but like here's a map in the style that I do coming up in Mega Dungeon 4. The maps in Eyrie, I think, are I had somebody complain that they're not in color, but I primarily work in black and white. Like, that's the intent. And they're really designed to make it easy for the DM to run the game. Like everything that's in the area, like if you can see on there, everything that's in the area is on the map, right? And it's the same thing with Eyrie. Like, you know, you can see both in this area is entirely dark. In areas that have light sources, I try and indicate the light sources there. I really want it to be not only a beautiful artifact, but something that's useful in play.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's sort of the range from in terms of mapping style. I mean, if you're wanting something that is a very quick table reference map, you almost can't beat the old TSR maps, which were purely just diagrams. And then, but of course, they were boring as hell.
Yeah,
you know, to actually look
absolutely.
at. But in many cases, the more detail that you added, the somewhat less it became useful as a table resource, because you're adding just more things for the eye to see. You're not instantly going to see the diagram. And I'm always interested in the way that people handle making it both a good resource and still be visually pleasing. And, you know, like Dyson Logos has a very different style, at least than the one that you're showing there on the map. And we've also got Glenn Seal, of course, you know, who just showed up on the chat room. And he is a Gold Ennie Award winning cartographer, and he says he's loving those maps, so that's good.
Well, it's art is about solving visual problems. There are correct and incorrect answers a lot of times, and there's a lot of
I've been told that I draw whatever the hell I'm able to draw. But I am told by people that there are right and wrong answers, and I've been told a lot that I'm able to tease out exactly the wrong answers when it comes to
crafting. It's a trial and error. You learn, right? You do things and some work and some don't, and then you work with other artists and cartographers. That thing you're talking about is exactly it. To what degree is the abstraction useful? And I try and hit that zone. I try and create the put the things in that are useful for the DMs and leave the things out that aren't. You should know that along with Eyrie comes 600 DPI virtual tabletop versions of all the maps.
That was something I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are a lot of people using those. Okay,
yes, so absolutely. All my products come with high definition versions of the maps that are just they're in PNG. They're instantly usable in Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 or whatever thing you use. You just drop them in, and then the players can explore while also getting the opportunity to. There's no secret DM information on the maps, right? You can use Fog of War to cover them up, and like they're designed to be used in play, right? So I think that's really exciting that it's not just something that's an artifact for the DM to look at and enjoy. It's something that the players can share into.
And it you know, there's definitely also just the aspect of, I think that in terms of the maps, one of the, you know, it's when a DM reads a module and decides whether they're going to play it, what's the flavor going to be in this thing, the appearance of the maps and also the illustrations is very important to pushing the reader's mind towards certain things. So did you do a lot of gonzo art for it as well?
There's a little in the module. I have done some supplementary pieces where I'm going to put together a web supplement here coming in a couple weeks for the module. There are other illustrations that are not in there, but yes, there's some of my Gonzo illustrations in there. There's it depicts a battle of player characters against the ancient Khepri, which were really cool. And
okay, and they're in the background, so that kind of answers the question about how important is the background. So they actually show up.
Yeah. It's tied into the Oran lore, and you know, like if you don't, they could be any ancient creature in any campaign setting. If you don't run Axe, I mean, like there's not a single thing in there that's going to stop you from dropping it into any BX campaign.
Right. All right. Awesome. We've got 30 minutes on the interview. A lot of them run for an hour, but it does sound like there's more and more going on in your house about these.
It's true. I am going to take that off. I'd also like to mention, you know, like you said earlier, I stream on Twitch regularly. Like I take commissions, affordable commissions. If you guys are interested in getting any of my art or maps and people's modules. I have a Patreon, of course. I'm sure we'll link all that stuff below. I'm also working on a number of other projects. You know, I've got some stuff coming from Lamentation soon. And this week, I'm in getting the approval process for Level Up, which is a book about fantasy gaming lists. And it's not so much for the people that would tune into something like this, but their wives and nephews and kids. It's really designed to be an entertaining book, like a funny book, but also something that will give people the kind of background they need in D&D to feel more comfortable. I hear a lot of people saying, well, I like D&D, but I don't really understand it, or I'm confused by it, or there's a lot I don't understand. And so I really wanted to produce a product for, you know, adjacent gamers that would be a really entertaining sort of guide into answering a lot of their questions and assuaging a lot of their anxieties about what D&D is about. And, you know, they feel like they don't know a lot. And this is a kind of like a anodyne to help them know a lot more and feel a lot more comfortable when playing D&D.
Yeah, there's always
Level Up, and I mean, I'm in process. Amazon sent me the thing. We're talking 72 hours before it goes up, hopefully early next week. So yeah, you were going to say, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, I agree. There's sort of a stochastic jump before you are willing to go from whatever game, you know, whatever regular games you've been playing up to playing a tabletop RPG. You sort of got to accumulate a fair amount of stuff before it, you know, before you're ready to sit down and play at a table, especially if there's nobody at the table who's played before.
Well, anxiety is a huge issue for new players, right? It's such a confusing, you know, like, oh, you'll just figure it out. You know, the rule book doesn't explain the actual experience. And then they see the critical role stuff and they get excited about it, but they're worried about all the stuff they don't know. And in presenting books of entertaining lists that are useful even to you, you know, what are the top types of magical currency, or why do wizards live in towers? You know, it's interesting. My model was, really where the sidewalk ends, you know.
Oh wow, okay.
Every page is illustrated, you know, like it's laid out to the character, and we're working on getting it available on Kindle, Drive-Thru-RPG, and Lulu. So that'll be out sometime early next week. Talking about it a lot. And then Eyrie is out now. We got a print on demand coming for that, and we got the 5e version and a print on demand for the 5e version coming. And then I've got some other projects I'm working on, and if you're interested in the nitty gritty on that, you can follow me on Twitch at Agonarch Artist, and I'll be talking about that stuff there, and we'll have links to all that below, I'm sure.
Okay, and then one other thing, just a plug for any small publisher anywhere. If they are selling on Drive-Thru-RPG or any place where you can put a review. So Wonky Art, it would be cool, since we've gotten a couple of good review chat points in there, for you to actually go into the review section, and this is true for any small publisher.
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
Good reviews are very, very important to how they do, and also just psychologically, it's great to get, you know, positive feedback. So let me go ahead and read the two posts I'm talking about. He said, I can't stop looking at the map of the statue chamber. I think the space is presented extremely well and really inspires my imagination on how things could potentially unfold in there. And then also, there's so much content in this module. I can't wait to dig into this. I've been looking for something to run after Borderlands. Perhaps this could fit. Yeah,
it's designed for that. Like you're not going to finish this in one session.
Right.
Like this is a site they can spend weeks and weeks and weeks uncovering stuff in it. Like it is an adventure location. It's 60 plus pages and like it's $5. I'm trying to raise the bar, man. There's a lot of crap out there. I want to take where we're at and I want to push it up so that when people get something, it's exciting and they can run it at their table. And we're doing better. We're doing better than we were 10 years ago, than we were 20 years ago. But I'm really trying to move that forward. So if you're into that, you know, follow me and give me your money so that I can continue to live indoors.
There you go. You're gonna give everybody your money.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the kind review too. Like I really appreciate it. I want people to look at my stuff and get excited about it, right? So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to raise that bar.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up. Anything else that you want to add, Courtney?
No, just I'm on a quest to live indoors, and every little bit helps. I'm excited about the stuff happening with Axe. I'm excited about the stuff I have coming out from Lamentations. I'm excited to share like I'll be streaming tomorrow. If you guys want to come check it out.
You're a big communicator. You have a lot of different
Oh yeah,
avenues.
yeah. I'm trying to. I mean, like I'm trying to live, man. Like you got to have different income. You got to have a lot of different income sources to survive as an independent creator. You got to constantly be pitching yourself and selling, and I'm not doing it to be.
Or you can marry money.
Well, I mean, you could, I guess. That sounds like a good solution, Matt. I wish I had thought of it.
Yeah, you look at most of us and you're like, they're not going to marry money. So
no, I mean, like you've left me speechless.
with the marry money thing. Hey, I've got all kinds of good advice.
There are lots of other reasons to get into a relationship besides fiduciary. No, I'm on, I'm happy for the first time in my life. My spirit is aligned with my job, is aligned with my life, and I'm excited about it, and I want to share that excitement, and I don't want it to get lost because nobody was paying attention.
Aren't you going to get tired? Aren't you going to get tired at some point? I mean, it takes lots and lots of effort.
I'm working
to actually. You what?
My work day is 12 to 15 hours.
I was going to say,
like I did this, like my blog, you look at it, it's over a decade old at this point. And I was doing most of it when I was working full time. And at one point I was posting 5 days a week. I'm not doing this to become famous or successful. I'm doing this because I was doing it anyway. And, like I'm just a productive guy. I have a friend who used to not have a job. They used to be a rounder. They used to make their living playing poker. And like what he would do is he would wait until he needed money and then he would grind and do it. But like I get up every day and I just get to work. I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing than making this art and creating these fictional spaces. And so, if that sounds like something you guys are into, you should come check me out and like what, like the stream is just basically having coffee, listening to relaxing music and watching people draw dungeons. When I was a kid, I would watch the show where they would read the book and somebody would illustrate the thing. And it's that type of comfort, that type of thing I'm trying to share and everything else.
And then again from the chat, Glenn Seal, I can't believe you've never read Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. I'm crushed.
Is he talking to you or me? I've read it. I've run it.
It's one of those conversations in the chat, and somebody mentioned Saltmarsh, and he said, "Was that Sinister Secret?" He's like,
the first adventure I ever was on. My dad, my first game was in the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. So I've run and played in that adventure more times than I think is reasonable for any human being.
Yeah, no, that was one of the early ones. I wouldn't say that was our first, but it's a really, really good adventure.
It is.
Oh, so Glenn's defending himself now. He's got them all. He just doesn't remember them all.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so anything we were doing the sort of sign off, and then it's something that often happens. We just kept on talking. So Mike Dmart or Dimart, I hope that you kept watching rather than waiting for the sign off. You said I finally catch a live broadcast and it's ending. So I hope you kept watching. We may have 2 or 3 of those that come out where we close down the show and then keep talking and then we close down the show again. Usually it's when I have a witty comment of some kind that I'm like, okay, I can close it now. Here we go. Anything else? And then we just keep going. So,
well, we're not in the role-playing game industry because we want to strive to be more corporate and professional, right? We like playing games with our friends. I think that's what it's really all about. It's about the fun, the community, and the support. And, like on my Discord, the people that are working with me, it's just been wonderful. I can't say enough good words about the people in this community that I've been working with. They're just phenomenal. You, Tenkar, Raggy, Alex, all of them, they've been welcome and opening, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very, very good community. And also, a lot of the time, your fans today of something that all I did was sort of break it out into 2 columns so that it would be readable and sent that out to them. I know I'm going to get some really good comments back from that's
the best part of it. Like I'm a professional artist. I I've come from the school of what you do is you do the best work you can and you don't get emotionally attached to it. You want it to be good, but the idea is that that's what your editors are for. They're to come back to you and say, this is how this could be better. And the amount of support I've gotten from my editor Sandor, who I hire to do all my personal stuff, and the editors for the professional publishers, Kyle and other people I've had work for me on Lamentations, and Crapper, who's the person on this. They're all fantastic people. It's really been amazing.
I just got back from GaryCon, which is probably another reason why I'm inspired to do some writing, and B, why I'm so tired from what's been going on, because conventions can be, fairly grueling. I usually
overwhelming. Yes,
I ran 2 games, 2 on-grid games at GaryCon, and then 1 off-grid game, because in my convention games you can level up and then keep the characters and the magic items and so on and so forth. And we're running into the problem of now we've got a core of really high level characters who cannot play with the new people coming into the game, because they're going to completely, then your newcomers, your newcomers aren't going to do a thing. They're just going to be protected. So usually I run the off-grid game for the higher level characters, because by virtue of being higher level, they've played with me a bunch of times and I know who they are. And so that's sort of the, really the friends only type of game. And so, yeah, the 3, and I'm probably going to boost it up to running 3 on-grid games at North Texas and Gamehole when those come up. Those are the conventions that I do. So,
North Texas RPG Con. I hoping to make it out there this year. I'm not.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I have difficulty traveling, so it's been difficult. But I've been getting the word from people that cons are the next step for my career. So I may be heading to Northwest.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, they're really good for people in the industry to put a face to things. One of the things, that aspect of things is one of the reasons why I like having a YouTube channel. It's clearly not as popular as podcasts are still, or at least in the old school community. It's, people like to listen to stuff rather than watch it. But I think there's a lot of value to seeing people's faces, whether it's, other gamers doing the same thing, or if it's industry people where you've read their stuff and you want to sort of get to know them a little bit more.
Lots of strong personalities. And it's easier if you hear them. If you see them, then you're like, I understand now, right? You're not so virulent about, because there's a lot of drama or whatever else, and like you can tell, I'm just trying to make a living. I don't want to get involved in any of the drama,
Oh yeah, no.
I want to make D&D stuff, and that's not to say that the causes that the people have aren't important. It's just, I do that in my personal life, right? Like I volunteer and I vote and I work locally to introduce change, but professionally, I just want to produce D&D products.
Yeah, and I think that people can sidetrack around stuff. If it's an issue where they really disagree with somebody or whatever, that is. It has. I don't think it's totally permeated the gaming community, and especially again, you get to a con, or someplace where people are really focused on the gaming. It doesn't actually. The internet, I think, is a pernicious place.
Yeah, well, that's what you were saying. When you see the face, when you talk to the person, it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah,
like it's way less. I don't think Twitter or Reddit were designed to keep people calm, right? Like when you're talking to another human being, you're like, oh, it's another human being, and like I like people, I like human beings, right? So,
and that's that's why I like the YouTube channel. I mean, it's a lot of fun for me, because what I get to do is contact any random interesting person. Hey, you want to do a thing on YouTube? And some, and a lot of the time they're like, I can do YouTube. I mean, like Merle Rasmussen, who wrote Top Secret, is going to be on at some point in the near future.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, and he's wonderful, and I would get Errol Otis on here, except that he just doesn't like to talk very much.
Mhm.
There's going to be absolutely very little play. It'll probably sound like an interrogation when I've
Yeah,
got
I mean, I'm an introvert, but this is definitely like my presentation online is definitely, to the purpose of that's part of the career. There's
Yeah.
going to be parts of your job you got to do that, you're not naturally suited for.
And it's
My-
somewhat
my-
easier to talk into, your own computer screen where you're seeing,
Uh-huh.
what
Oh,
what
it
I'm
helps.
what I'm seeing when I'm talking is my own face.
Yes.
And I talk to myself all the time as an
Yeah.
introvert. So, yes, I've got this.
It without question is a huge factor and why it's possible for me to do that. Yeah, the anonymity, the fact that it's just you alone in your office. There may be 50 people in the room watching me draw or whatever, but like for me, it's just me being alone in my office ranting to myself. I think the thing I really want to leave people with is I'm really trying to do something new. I'm really trying to do something not that is disruptive to the classic way we've played the game, but that makes it easier and more useful for somebody to take something and to add it into their game and make it better. Even if you're not going to run this, there are 100 ideas of something you could drop into any game you're running. And really, we have a new presentation where all the information is pretty easily accessible within sections. That was one of the first conversations I had with Alex. Is I didn't want it to look like the production of Dwemer. I didn't want people to have to dig through the room text. And so we spent a lot of time working on that. I'm really just trying to produce new, exciting innovations and things. And that means that there's some inconsistency to my work and that things change as we learn and do new things. Like, I think one of the best comments I got about Mega Dungeon, which is how I'm publishing Newman Hollow, my Mega Dungeon, which if you guys are interested in is right here. Like this is it, right? Like it exists. I don't know if you can see it, but the Mega Dungeon is a real thing that I'm just trying to turn into print, right? And one of the things about it is that the maps I was doing were beautiful, but they were too small on the page. And so one of the new things we're doing is we're segmenting the maps more because we're always striving to produce that better product. And when I mean we, I mean my community, because there's a bunch of other D&D artists of, She Games, He Games, Hope that does that, Bodhi H. We're all producing this stuff on Twitch, this art. There's a huge community out there. It's really good stuff. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. And, you should dive right in. If you've got some anxiety about it, don't worry. It's super welcoming. Everybody's friendly.
Well, wait. So we're talking about a D&D artist group or...
Yeah, no. Like, there's a group of people on Twitch that produce exclusively D&D art.
How do people find that? Because a lot of people know how to get on DeviantArt and look around, but
sure. I would say just if you go to the Dungeons and Dragons tag on Twitch, you'll find those artists working. They all stream under D&D, and then like I have a Discord, which is going to be in the link list that I'm going to give you down below that people can join in, and we're just.
Are you on Discord at the same time as the Twitch, or is that a separate?
Yeah. I mean, like I keep Discord open all the time, but like we do joint streams sometimes. You've got people that play. I'm doing a joint stream this Friday night. I'm streaming my normal art Friday during the day, but I got a joint stream Friday night where we're playing the Mystara game. You remember the old D&D beat 'em up in the arcade? Like it's just all D&D all the time. Like Hope does character sketches for people that pay her, and Bodhi does dungeons and like mushroom, things, and it's cool stuff. And then Waco does like D&D animations. Like it's just a D&D garden. There's so many people working in the space, and we all talk to each other and share things. I watched Insomnia Doodles. She did a leather burned cover journal for her D&D game that has a map of the Sword Coast on it. Like there's just so much out there. I mean, some of you guys are like, we've never even heard of this, but
I haven't.
There's huge. There's all kinds of people doing all kinds of great stuff, and like the message I bring from that is, is we're trying to raise the bar. We're trying to make it just a better experience for everybody involved and more positive, and it's just great. It's an exciting time, right? Like when I was a kid, I would despair at there never being another D&D product. Each one was super exciting, and now there's like literally 500 every week that James from Dreams of Mythic Fantasy does the OSR news, and that is really how I'm able to keep a handle on all of it. If you haven't checked that out, it's a great way to stay tapped in to what's going on in the community. And it's just
That's James Smith, right?
yeah. And he had stopped for a long
Oh,
time.
I need to get
People
him on the
outside.
show. It's been a really, really long time since I talked to him.
He hangs out on Twitch a lot, and he's part of the Discord and the communities and stuff. And because he's got to, that OSR news post he does, I guarantee you, it takes him 20 hours a week.
Oh yeah,
because I did it for a little while, and it wasn't anywhere near as good, and it was taking me 10, 12 hours. So like, just the fact that he's willing to do it, I give him. It's so useful to me, right? Like, I give him lots of positive reinforcements so that he'll keep it up.
Yeah,
but he'll keep doing it for sure.
That's one of the things about doing news is that no one ever tells you that you're doing a good job. They just go and read the news and they go off somewhere.
It's so much work. So I support him on Patreon. I support you on Patreon. I'm pretty sure I got support going on all there. We're a community. The tide lifts all boats. Like when more people are paying attention, I think it's better for everybody. I apparently have a task to go hang up some posters. Say bye to everybody. Elizabeth, bye. We're gonna take
Race Against Time has ended.
Yeah, we gotta go. It's time. It was great talking with you. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's always fun.
We're gonna go read some Captain Underpants and hang up some posters in our room. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about the short end, the quick end.
That's all right. Thanks for being on the show.
You too.
And I will say to everybody, whatever kind of Dungeons and Dragons it is that you play, imagine the hell out of it.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye.